Hey guys, this is Jack from the Ability Center, and today we're doing a happy Arizona sunset. First of all, we're going to work with our bases. Now, if we are all familiar with an Arizona sunset, it starts off light to dark up into the sky. So, what we're going to start off doing is we are going to get our orange paint. This is a nice cadmium orange. Don't matter, it's going on the thing. Got your canvas set up right here. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna start off at the base and go up and up and up. So what I like to do when I start painting, I like to get my brush a little wet and then just give it a little scrub down. Get that nice and watery texture. You're gonna go in here. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because if you look off into the Arizona sunset over there, what do you see? You see mountains. So we're going to be covering up the bottom with some nice mountains and some cacti, or cactus if you're like me. And yeah, so here we go. I started off with the orange and we're moving up like I said. So we're going to come in with a lighter shade of orange. And what I did to do that was I took some white and I added it to our orange. So now we have like a nice bright transitional orange to come in through here. So we're going to go and do that. I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now real quick. And I don't want you guys to think it has to be perfect, because no matter what, it's going to turn out good because you're doing it. So we're going to come in here. See how I'm kind of mixing it? It's giving out that like kind of hazy appeal to it. I finished up our nice transition into the lighter orange. I would say it's actually a peach color. So if it's the color of a peach, you got it right. All right, now what we're gonna do, and what I should probably show you how to do before we do this next part, we're gonna start moving into our purples. Now, it wouldn't make much sense if we were just to put a bunch of dark purple on top of this light peach. So what we are going to do is we are gonna take some orange, or sorry, some white, and we're going to get some purple, and we're going to try and hold its hand and walk it into the dark, basically. So what I mean by that is we are going to take the white, mix it with the purple.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if they're getting rid of them. They were color coordinating with that.
So we can get that nice light purple.
They might, okay.
You don't want the heavy on top of the super bright. So it's a nice transition. So we're just going to come in here and gently just go in like this. You're going to paint over a little bit, but we're not getting all messy and going into it. It's going to be just like a little kiss. So as you can see, we transitioned into the light purple. Now we're going to go ahead and go in and do that dark. So what you're going to do, you can use the same plate as before. I should mention, when you're using this, don't use your table or any dishes or anything like that. What I like to use is plastic plates as palettes. That's the correct word for it, is a palette. And you kind of use it to come and mix all your colors with. So if you've been using it for that light purple, you can come over here and kind of use the leftover from that to help transition into the dark. Because we're, like I said before, we're layering. So you can go ahead and come in and start layering up on that dark. All right, my friends, now we're on to the blending. As you see, I finished up the top purple. Now, I know, I was a spinster before about keeping it separate, but now I'm gonna tell you to do the opposite. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start blending stuff in, okay? Because if you look at an Arizona sunset, it's not all one solid color. So you're gonna come in and we're gonna start trying to bring that light all throughout. So start pulling that light blue down into the orange. We don't want to be aggressive about it though. What we want to do is just, like kind of do the surface and have it all fall on top of each other. Kind of want to keep and make sure that, I know you probably can't see very well, But if you don't get the paint in just right, you're left with this snowflake effect. Now, the snowflake effect is when the canvas is showing up through the paint. Now, we don't want that. So what we're gonna do, or what I like to do, sometimes I'll pull it in a little bit closer and I'll just make sure that we're hitting all those spots just right. Do not be afraid to use that water. It's gonna help you a lot during the blending process. As you can see, we have finished the background. I don't want you guys to stress too much about how your background looks. Because, mind you, not every sunset looks the same, and that's okay. That's what makes them so special. Now, I'm going to start you off with our ground. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to level it out, and we're going to make the silhouette of our ground, which is going to be black. And then we are going to come up, and we are going to add some mountains. And, of course, those are going to be purple, because the Superstition Mountains are purple. But before we do that, I want to make sure you guys are starting out with a clean setup, because again, we don't want to mix up our colors and get them all yucky. So while we were on break, I went and I changed out our water, and I made sure to clean the brush. So the brush doesn't have any paint on it right now, and we got clean water. And with that being said, I also got us a new palette. Having a clean palette is very important when you're switching from light colors to dark colors, because you don't want them to run together and give you that, again, yucky color. Now again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just do the best you can. We're going to come in, make the silhouette of our ground. A nice desert ground. And then on top of this, after we are done with this black, again, we're going to come in and we're going to clean our brush again, get all the filthy black off, and then we're going to do that darker purple on the mountain terrain. Now, at this point, you guys should be done with your ground, which again should be black. I wanted to emphasize to you guys to make sure that you go through with your black and make sure that there's no snowy effect like I was talking about earlier. We can wait on that though until after we are done with our mountains, because we're going to have to go over the black again if we do kind of get out of our lines here and get into the black. And it's okay if you do. It's an easy fix. Every artist can fix their work. Doesn't mean it's ruined, but we're going to go in here and start painting our superstitions. Alright guys, so this is just like a speedy version. I basically just wanted to show you how I went in and highlighted it real quick right here. I'm not done yet. Like I said, I wanted to point out the snowy effect. Again, that's what happens when you don't completely cover it with paint. You're going to see the background popping out through the mountain. So again, I just wanted to point out, like, stuff like this we're going to need to go over again. But I wanted you to take into account the lighter strokes we have in here. That is the highlight of the mountain. I want you to be able to see that on yours. Again, if you wanted to choose a different color, that's fine. But for the purple, this is what it would be. Again, I went in with the dark blue. I covered it, and then I went in with a wet brush and the light purple, and I just kind of spruced it up a bit. You kind of just get in there and you put in the highlights, and like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look exactly like mine, but just so you get an idea. And again, it's just to help the mountain stand out a little bit more. Alright guys, our background on the mountain is now dry. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go in and start trying to get all of that snowy effect I was talking about yesterday filled in. And then we're going to start putting in some actual detail on the mountain to make it look like a mountain instead of just a blue blob on the paper. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in with that phthalo blue again. And if you see what I'm using a broad brush. It's not necessarily huge, but it's not necessarily tiny either. As you can see, all the brushes have different sizes, and if you're looking to paint like more of like a background scenery and stuff like that, you're going to want to use a bigger brush. But now that we're in a more condensed area, we can use a slightly thinner brush. So we're going to go in here and start filling in that snowy. See what I mean? We had to wait for it to dry so that the paint wasn't smearing off the image. So we're just going to go in and cover up all that snowy area and try and make it look more like a mountain today. Okay guys, so at this point, you should pretty much have your painting and all the snowy effect like filled up. So as we are finishing up here, a quick reminder of what we're gonna be doing now is I'm gonna start coming in with a lighter purple and white. Now we're gonna mix that together, and that's gonna give us a lighter shade of the color that we're working with right now. Now we're gonna go in and we're just gonna start highlighting the outer edges. So just kind of bump your brush against the mountain like this and give it just a little bit of a highlight. Now, like I said before, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay guys, so what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna go in and we're gonna detail out the mountain. And then when we're done with that, I'm gonna come back and do the shadows of the cactuses over the mountain. We're gonna apply the paint in broad strokes across the mountain. We're just trying to help fill up some of that space in the dark blue before we go over and start our stippling. It's gonna help keep that dark blue at bay, and hopefully we can conceal it with the paint, mostly before going back in and doing the actual stippling and putting in detail. Stippling is where you apply the paint to the tip of the brush and you basically are just dabbing the paint onto the canvas and filling up that space. The cool thing about stippling with paint is it also adds a lot of texture to your mountain. So it's gonna kind of make your mountain pop a little bit. You're just popping it onto the canvas. Use the different shades of purple to contrast each other. Make sure that you fill up the entire mountain. If you're unsure if you missed or got everything, it's always a good idea to take a step back from the canvas. Sometimes taking a step back and looking at it as the bigger picture and at a different angle, you can see where you missed a spot and can add just a splash of color. It's okay to take your time, and if you have to do this a couple times, that's all right. In this part of the video, we are going to add some subtle highlights to our mountain. Some light purple and whites to make it pop and stand out just a little bit more than it already does. We're gonna go back into our mountain again, but this time we're gonna be adding a light shade of different colors around the mountain to give it more of a visual appeal. This is also a good time, again, to take a step back and see more so where highlights and texture could be added to the mountain. Alright guys, so for this part of the video, you're going to want to grab a thinner paintbrush, and we are going to use this paintbrush to do the outline of the cactus. What you want to do is use the thinner paintbrush to size and scale your cactus. Use it to measure the height of the cactus that you want. Put a black dot to determine how high you want it to be, so you have a reference of where your cactus is going to start. Don't worry so much about the symmetry of the arms of the cactus. No cactus is a perfect symmetrical cactus, so it is okay if one's a little lower, one's a little higher. They're all beautiful to us. You're going to want to hold your paintbrush firm, and if you need support from that other hand, go ahead and use your left hand to support your right so you can get your lines nice and straight and clean. Some tips on how to get these lines on the side without going too much out of line into the orange or anything like that. You want to get like a flat brush like this. It kind of looks like the top of a flathead screwdriver. What you're going to do is get your paint on there, and you're kind of going to just slide it down so you can get that like extra sharp line. And it'll help even out your cactus so it doesn't look so bent out of shape, I guess you could say. But see how I'm doing it? You just use the brush and follow it down. And like I said, it helps keep that line straight and clean. I can actually show you guys how I'm planning on making grass or weeds around the cactus. So you come in here like this, just boop, boop. And there's your grass. And you can do that anywhere you want. Like, we can even put grass right here if we want. Cause you know, we're from Arizona. I'm sure you guys have seen desert scenery. It's not just like flat and like empty. There's bushes, there's rocks, there's animals, there's all kinds of stuff. So we're gonna go in after we're done with these 2 last cactuses, and we're gonna like spruce it up a bit and make it look a little more like home. Done with these last 2, we're gonna come in here and maybe throw in like a couple barrel cactuses, and we're gonna just use our paintbrush and fan down. Again, fan down. And there you go. You got the start of a barrel cactus. And there you go. And then we can put another one right here if you want. Why not? Come down here. Give him some plant friends so he's not so lonely. Yeah. There you have it. An Arizona sunset. So before we conclude this video, when I was in school, they always told me to finish my paintings by initialing the bottom, because you always want to know who the artist is. So I'm going to come down here on the bottom, just write a J, S, and 20. And that's it. That concludes our video of Arizona sunset. Hope you guys enjoyed it.